We were at the hackathon this week. A lot of people came to our table where we were doing the hackathon, and they were pretty appreciative about the effort that the students were putting. And in fact, during that time, they offered 2 slots to the students to come and talk in their working group. So the chairs from CCWG came and said, would you please present this, what you've done in one of our meetings? It was very kind of them to give us the opportunity, and students were really thrilled and they made the most out of it. We also got NMOC chairs telling us that if you could present this, it will be great. So students again took that opportunity, and I'm very grateful to them to give us these chances.
You're listening to Ping, a podcast by IETF discussing all things related to measuring the internet. I'm your host, George Michelson. Welcome back for Season 6. We start the year with a set of 3 conversations held at IETF Bangkok last year. 2 are with groups of students and 1 with their supervising professor. The students are all from NITK Karnataka, a technically focused university in the Indian state of Karnataka down south. It's located on the coast, close to Mangaluru. NITK has established a track record of network-related research, encouraging undergraduate and postgraduate students from their computer science and network engineering schools to come into the IETF, work at the hackathon, and present their ideas in the appropriate working groups. We've heard from NITK students before on Ping. 2 attendees at IETF Brisbane came on the podcast and have subsequently moved into industry and postdoc research. They're developing their careers. We talked to them about their work on a campus IPv6 deployment, a multi-year activity to deploy campus-wide IPv6 that's been running at NITK. The project encourages students to mentor successive cohorts as they build out systems. This time, the 2 groups of students came to IETF and worked on different problems. One set looked at variants of the FQ Codel queuing disciplines, fair or flow queue management with controlled delay. The other team worked on the Yang data model in the NetConf area. I also talked to their supervisor, Professor Mohit Tahiliani. Mohit is working to solve the IETF's age problem, as well as to improve his students' chances in the job market. He's hopeful some will stay around for the longer term in network standards development at the IETF. First up, let's hear about FQ Codel. Preeti, can you explain to people who you are and what you're doing?
Hello, George. I'm Rati Preeti, and I'm an undergrad student from National Institute of Technology, Karnataka. And currently I'm pursuing my major in computer science. And I've been introduced to networking by Professor Mohit. And I've been working with him for like 1 year now. And we've been working on projects related to multipath queuing and congestion control.
I'm Shreya Anand. I'm also studying in the National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, and my major is CS as well.
Hello, I'm Mohit Tahiliani. I'm also a final year BTech student studying computer science at National Institute of Technology, Karnataka.
Hello, I am Anuhya Mulki. I am also doing majors in Computer Science of Engineering in National Institute of Technology, Karnataka.
Hello, I'm Suprata Bhat, National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, majoring in CS. We are excited to be here.
So this isn't the first time we've had people from NITK on Ping. Last year, we were speaking with Kavya and Vanessa, who were working on a campus IPv6 project. But you guys, you're actually here doing something quite different, aren't you? So you're working with Professor Mohit Tahiliani, who's the head of the Central Computing Facility at NITK, but he's also an academic and he's been teaching on the course, right?
Yes.
NITK, the National Institute for Technology in Karnataka. Can one of you just explain to people where Karnataka is?
So Karnataka is a state in India on the southwest, and Surathkal is a city in Karnataka.
Right.
And it's right by the coast, so we have like a beach in our college.
And it's quite a large university. There's about 8,000 students on campus.
That's right. The campus area is around 200 acres and more than 7,000 students pursuing various programs in the campus.
So you came to IETF And this time, you were doing something different. Now, you mentioned that you were looking at some aspects of networking. This is in the space of queuing systems, isn't it? Queuing disciplines. Could you talk a little bit about the ideas here?
So our professor has recently proposed an internet draft on FQPI, which is a queue management discipline. And we also have a PhD student who is working on an update to FQ Codal, which is called FQ Codal++. So the main aim of our hackathon is to test different queue disciplines using a network testing tool called CCPerf.
Right. So queuing disciplines, they're bits of code that go inside the network system in an operating system. They might be in the kernel or they might be in user space. And users get to choose these. Is there like a tuning mechanism to select one?
Right. So these queuing disciplines are mostly deployed at the router. And yes, a user can choose the queuing discipline that they want to deploy on their system.
And the FQ part, I'm right in thinking that stands for fair queuing. The idea here is to distribute.
Both flow and fair queuing.
Flow and fair queuing. How did you go about doing this? You were using a testing framework, I think.
So we were using a testing framework called CCPerf, which was having NS3 as a backend. The algorithms FQPI and FQCodal and many others are implemented in that. And we were testing out the implementations of FQPI. And our main aim was to compare it with FQCodal. So that was basically our aim at the hackathon. And we did observe some interesting results.
And can you tell me a little bit about how you structured the work? Because the hackathon is really only 1 or 2 days of time to work in. So how did you make this work?
Yeah, so basically all of us got familiar with the framework CCPerf. We got ready all the installations and everything on our laptops. And so CCPerf provides us with a list of experiments. And there are multiple categories under which we can work. Like, for example, we have competition, we have network variation, etc. So we are a team of 5 members and we had divided the experiments among ourselves. So each one of us worked on our own.
So you all installed NS3 on your laptops or on one machine that you had shared access to?
No, we had our own personal systems. We had installed NS3 and CCPerf. And we continued with our experiments.
Okay, so Mahati, how did you do the analysis of the data that you were getting? Did you construct a Jupyter working book or a spreadsheet? How were you doing a comparison?
So CCPerf provides us with statistics after we run a particular queue discipline. So we get to analyze throughput, in-flight packets, SRTT, etc. And we plotted graphs. And we mainly compared graphs to compare different queue disciplines and get results and analyze it.
Shreya, you presented on this in the hackathon, but also in the CCWG, I believe.
Yes, we did.
So this work is something that might carry on. It kind of gives them a sense of these different forms of queuing and they're thinking about progress here.
Yeah, so our professor is planning to make a FUPI, a new RFC for IETF, and these graphs will help him. We also presented our findings in the CCWG working group. The graphs we produce will be used by a professor to help validate his findings for FQPI, which he plans to turn into an ID for IETF, an RFC for IETF. The graphs can also be used to help compare Codal and Codal++. And
one thing I would add on is that basically, we wanted to introduce CCPerf as a new tool which can be in general used by the community to test out algorithms. And also, we presented one plot of BBR in our CCWG meeting. So, we wanted to just spread awareness that these tools exist and might be useful. People can try it out.
So, Preeti, what kind of things do you think might follow on from this? Are there other projects that other NITK students might do next year or in another IETF?
So during our presentation in CCWG, we have presented that we have compared the CCPerf experiments with the evaluation criteria that is specified in RFC 9743. We have found out that quite a lot of experiments that are listed in the CCPerf tool are in alignment with the RFC, but there are certain evaluation criteria that is mentioned in the RFC that is not already there in CCPerf. So as a continuation to our work, we can try to add those evaluation criteria or like experiments related to those evaluation that are not there in CCPerf already.
Oh, that's really great. Where do you see your future in this? Are you guys staying in the sector or are you going out into industry? Is anyone going on to higher education?
Yes, I'll be going for higher education in the US. I've applied for a few colleges and got some answers.
And this is to do work in networking?
Yeah, I focus on networking in my SOP.
And the rest of you, are you going into industry? Do you have jobs lined up?
Yes, the rest of us have all offers from companies. We're not yet sure which team we will be working with, but hopefully networking, it would be great for us because we have a strong background.
This kind of experiment, it was fun to do?
Yes, it was really fun. So we had to learn about how new tools work. We got to see the behavior of different Q discipline algorithms. And it was very fascinating when what we learn theoretically is seen in the experiment results. Like what we study is like, okay, this is right. What we learned about this algorithm is right. Or if it's wrong, we try to analyze why exactly it's going wrong and what parameter has to be tuned or what has to be changed in the algorithm. Yeah, it was very new and interesting to work on.
That's really great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming on, Ping.
Thank you so much. We all had a great time talking to you.
Thank you, George.
Thanks a lot, George.
Thank you.
Now, let's hear from the NITK students about Yang data models in NetConf. Vartika, Hayan, Sid, Meher, welcome to Ping. Can you introduce yourself and tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and why you're here?
Hello, I'm Vartika T. Rao. I'm a fourth-year undergrad student at NITK Surathkal. I am currently majoring in information technology. I also have a minor in machine learning. Networking is a little new to me. I've become more interested in it in the past year, and this has been a great opportunity to learn more about it, and I'm glad I'm here.
We all have to start somewhere. Hayan.
Hello, I am Hayan, and I am a fourth-year undergrad student from NITK Surathkal. And I became interested in networking through the courses I've taken under my professor Mohit Tahiliani.
Sid?
Hi everyone, I'm Siddharth. So I'm also a fourth year undergraduate at NITK Surathkal in Mangaluru. I'm an electrical and electronics major, and I've also a minor in machine learning. I would not say networking is my strength, but it's definitely extremely interesting, and I had a lot of fun in the whole process.
Meher?
My name is Bharadwaj Meher Rishi. I'm also a fourth year computer science student at National Institute of Technology, Karnataka. I have a minors in management, but I'm interested in most of the computer science fields, including systems.
So the four of you are here on a project we're going to talk about in a little while, under the supervision of Professor Mohit, who's the director of the Computing Centre in the Institute in Karnataka. But this isn't a project that started here, is it? I think you said, Meher, that you were working on this at a previous IETF in Dublin.
Yes, that is right. So I've been interested in eBPF as well, and a few of my seniors were sort of working on an eBPF project, and they did present it in Brisbane. And that's how I went to IETF 121, where I also met Mahesh and Kent, who were draft authors. So my professor actually talked to them, and they'd asked for students who'd be interested in implementing their draft called HCTPS Notif.
So there's a specific draft in the working group that you have done a project on, and you said that this is called Notif HTTPS?
Well, that's the short name. The long name would be like HTTPS transport-based for Yang notifications. HTTPS-based transport for Yang notifications.
So, Vartika, can you just explain a little bit about what the NetConf working group looks at?
The NetConf working group, or Network Configuration Working Group, as long name, works basically on collecting network telemetry data. And so NetConf is an application layer protocol stack, and it works on any transport base. And it mostly works on changing network configurations.
Right.
The whole stack is used for mostly changing network configuration.
So this is kind of funny that mostly when people talk about protocols, you think in terms of bits on a wire, bits in fiber, radio signals, network layers, transport layer. And you guys, you're right up the top of the stack here. So, Hayan, this idea, you say it's a Yang protocol. Yang is a protocol, right?
It's basically a data model
It's a
use
model.
for network configurations.
And this is like a textual description of things?
Not real. It's a data model. It can be encoded in any way.
Right. So if I were looking in a draft, I would see a layout of a structured statement about the configuration.
Yeah.
And then there are tools that compile this down into a binary form or a structured form.
So for validation, there are a lot of libraries which we use. So it depends on the programming language you're using. For example, if you're using C, there's a libyang library to do it. And for Python, there are multiple like pyang and yangson. We chose yangson for our project.
So yangson.
I feel it combines Yang and JSON.
So Sid, can you talk a little bit about how you guys were approaching this problem? What is the structure of the system you were developing?
I mean, the draft defines a publisher, a receiver, and the communication in between them to understand what is supported, what is not supported, and then send notifications. So the first challenge, I think, was understanding Yang data model itself and understanding how the draft works and how this fits into the bigger picture of other drafts in NetConf.
So you did some pre-work as a group, reading about this and getting up to speed with the design ideas you were working on here.
Yeah.
And you say that it's got both a producer side and a consumer side.
Exactly.
So, Vartika, how did you code this? What was the approach you took to coding the solution here?
So our final implementation, as the collector, we have a HTTPS Flask server. And on the producer side, we have a simple Python script.
So Flask is a development environment which is in Python,
Right.
My favorite programming language, as I say every ping episode I can. You previously had some code in C, I think you said, Hayan?
So when we were working in IETF 121 Dublin, we participated in the hackathon there as well. Meher was there on site and we three were working as remotely.
Right.
So that time, initially when we got the project, we were using Alex Wang's code for the same.
Right.
HTTPS no difficult.
But you then came to this one and decided, let's re-implement using Python.
Yes.
So, Meher, the Python system, the Flask system, that was the consumer side or the producer side?
That's the consumer.
Right. And the producer side, you've got masses of data coming out of these systems, right?
That is correct.
How were you handling the data? What was the fundamental model you used there?
Right. So the data had to sort of pertain to Yang model, right? And in the draft, there is no specification as to which model to pertain to, but what we used was interface data, which is from another RFC, A343, which collects information about the interface, the number of packets going through them.
Right.
If it's up
So
and down.
basic telemetry that you would see in network configuration.
That is correct.
And you're using this Yang data model to define how to put it into an information system.
Yeah, that's
But you need
absolutely
then to actually marshal the data. So what did you use as a mechanism to hold that data?
Okay, so what we've done is we've written a Python script which reads the interface data from whenever it happens, and that is sent to the collector. So for having multiple producers, we spun up multiple threads on the same system in sort of a network namespace, different network namespaces, so that the processes don't, collide. Stuff doesn't happen. So we have two separate network stacks. One we run the producer, one we run the collector. That's the test bed.
Vartika, how did you implement the message store behind this data flow?
Right. So on the collector side, to store the actual notifications that you get from the publisher, we've used Kafka and TSDB. So to store the notifications, we've used a TSDB called InfluxDB. And before the data actually flows into the InfluxDB, we have a Kafka message broker in between.
Right. So this is a classic publish, subscribe information processing model. That's a really quite high level building block to use to do things. I think it speaks to how far the technology's come that you can just take a service like this off the shelf. You didn't look at using Redis or anything. You were happy with InfluxDB. Is that like a time series DB?
Right. It's a time series database. And we've taken inspiration of this for this whole architecture from something called Yang Push, which NetConf as the whole working group is working towards. So Yang Push is basically architecture to store network telemetry data and as an easy way to analyze it later on.
So I feel Thomas Graf and Benoit Clay. So we went through a blog written by Benoit Clays.
Yeah.
And it mentioned this Yang push architecture. And I feel they wanted to move towards data analysis, big data analysis through by storing this data.
Yeah. So you actually had quite good interaction with members of the NetConf working
Yes.
group. This was a nice collaboration.
Yes.
So, Sid, can you talk a little bit about what the outcomes are? Have you done a final presentation back to the working group?
Yeah, so we did successfully present what we've done over the couple of months, plus what we did the hackathon and the NetConf working group at IETF 122. The results are that we did implement what was mentioned in the draft.
Yeah.
So we have a collector, we have a publisher. And as per suggestions from Kent and Mahesh, the draft authors, we also did some analysis of the performance you get on the different kinds of encoding.
So looking at the amount of buffering and
Exactly.
the delay between collecting the data
Exactly.
and publishing the data.
Exactly.
Oh, that's really very good. So, Maher, do you feel there might be a follow-on project? I mean, you're all fourth year, so you're going to be moving on into other fields, but might there be more work for NITK students here?
Yeah, I think definitely we ourselves have a lot of thoughts in mind of what we could do next. Currently, what we've done is we've just used JSON, XML, and CBOR encoding. CBOR wasn't present in the draft, so we proposed the draft ourselves.
So you have proposed the draft to
Right.
use a CBOR encoding
Correct.
to do this data. CBOR is fascinating. We talk about it a lot on Ping when we're talking DNS, because there's a DNS collector model,
Yeah.
CDNS, which is a
Okay.
refinement of CBOR. So you're going from Yang representation to structured data collection. You've currently got it going into JSON, and you're now looking at CBOR, which would be a much more compact encoding, wouldn't it?
So from the results of the experiments we've done, we've seen that on lower bandwidth networks, CBOR gives really high throughput. So that's exactly why we thought, and it's also widely used standard, like you mentioned, it's used elsewhere as well.
So that's future work that someone else might work on, or are you guys going to pursue a draft maybe?
We are going to pursue a draft on that, but there is more work. We thought we could also compress the JSON XML without using CBOR.
Yeah,
and
you
try
tried
it out.
like libz compression,
libz, yeah.
and that was okay. What was that like?
No, that is the future work we're thinking of doing.
Right. So just to wrap up, do you guys already have an idea where your career path is heading? Have you been hired already, or are you looking at doing studentships, masters? What's your plans?
I think all of us have been hired, and at least my plan is to work for a couple of years, maybe find out something I'm very interested in and maybe pursue a master's on that.
But with your input statement that you've got a component of ML in what you're doing, it's possible that's more interesting for you.
Yeah, I have minors in machine learning as well. So I am looking at machine learning as one of the things I would be interested in. But right now, networking is on top of my mind.
So, Hayan, how about you?
Yeah, same as Vertica. I have been hired and will be working for a couple of years and then explore things in the meanwhile. So based on that, I might get into master.
Sid?
Yeah, more or less the same. I've been hired and I would definitely work for a couple of years and then look into like a specific field to do a master's degree in. But yeah, it's definitely going to be something systems related. Definitely not ML.
I'm an ML skeptic at some levels. I'm not saying the field doesn't exist, but I haven't found a use for it myself yet. So I'm glad to hear there are other people who are thinking of other paths. How about you, Maher?
Pretty much the same thing. But I will do masters though. I'm not sure, not sure which field yet. So I'm hired. I'll spend time exploring as well. Yeah, and then figure out what to do then. Yeah.
Guys, I want to say it's been a blast. It's been lovely talking to you. Thank you for coming on and talking to us about this activity. It's great.
Thank you so much for having us.
Finally, let's hear from Professor Mohit Tahiliani. So, Mohit, thank you for coming and talk with us. I've just done 2 interviews with 2 groups of students that you have conducted into the IETF. Can you tell us a little bit about what your ideas are here?
Sure. Thanks, George, first of all, for having discussions with my students. So I brought these students with me to IETF because as a part of the course that I teach in my university.
That's NITK Karnataka.
Yes, the National Institute of Technology, Karnataka at Surathkal.
High-tech hub of Mangaluru, close by.
Yes. So we are very close to the Arabian Sea. Our campus is right across the beach. So I teach computer networking courses in my university. I start interacting with them when they are in the third year of engineering, and they work with me on multiple courses of networking.
So you've brought students into a quite strong, emotionally loaded, difficult meeting cycle here at IETF, a place where people are often extremely blunt and direct to each other. It's really throwing them in at the deep end in some ways, Mohit.
Yes. The reason I still thought I should get the students is primarily because my students are more interested in implementing the internet drafts rather than immediately start working on writing the drafts.
And I might add, they're more than up to this job. I mean, the group I just spoke with have done a complete implementation from a Yang spec to a functioning system using all the tools in the armory, Python codes, Flask, pub-sub models, everything. It's fantastic. The other group, they're actually working in the network stack, implementing queuing disciplines in protocols, comparing them, analyzing them, presenting to the group. I think it's fantastic. These guys are doing really well. But there must be a sort of higher goal here. What's your idea about the potential outcome from this?
One thing on a very high level, one of the goals is to also give feedback about these implementations to the people who are implementing internet drafts or writing internet drafts. Early feedback to the authors of the internet drafts. As long as students are concerned, I want them to go back to the university and tell other students about how was their experience of IETF, and also motivate the younger generation to at least be aware of what is IETF.
So that you've become part of the supply chain for future brains in a framework like IETF. This is building the pool of new, younger minds working in the standards process. This isn't the first time NITK students have been involved in IETF. One of the students earlier today said that they were in Dublin, but I believe Nalini Elkins has also led a group here working in IPv6 measurement at previous meetings.
That's true. And those are my students who have been coming with Nalini to the IETF.
So it's part of a wider collaboration in some ways.
Yes. So we have a project which is funded by APNIC Foundation, which is related to migrating our campus network to IPv6. And Nalini is one of the IPv6 experts at IETF, and she has also written a couple of drafts related to IPv6. So she was involved with us as a consultant and helping us design the initial phases of how do we migrate our campus network to IPv6. So she, as well as Michael Ackerman, both of them have been working with us and helping us to migrate our campus. So I used to send students with them because I wasn't able to travel to IETF for some different reasons. So they would take care of my students and put them in the right working group or help them present in places like IEPG. The students have made presentations in V6 Ops. The students have presented in Brisbane during the eBPF working group as to how we implemented the IPv6 extension headers using eBPF.
And this time round, they were in NetConf and they were in CCWG as well, I believe.
They were in NMOP. They were in TSVWG.
And of course the hackathon as well. So they've been participating, integrating with core IETF working group participants. I think it's truly amazing, Mohit. Thank you. It's fantastic.
Thank you. I want to share one more point that when we were at the hackathon this week, a lot of people came to our table where we were doing the hackathon, and they were pretty appreciative about the effort that the students were putting. And in fact, during that time, they offered 2 slots to the students to come and talk in their working group. So the chairs from CCWG came and said, would you please present this, what you've done in one of our meetings? It was very kind of them to give us the opportunity, and students were really thrilled and they made the most out of it. We also got NMOP chairs telling us that if you could present this, it will be great. So students again took that opportunity, and I'm very grateful to them to give us these chances.
So I feel it's a little like fishing in a pool that you have to expect. You put quite a lot of energy into a group like this. Maybe only 1 or 2 will decide that this is a future long-term outcome for them. But you know what? I think it's worth it. Even if it's at a low percentage outcome in the longer tail, this is an amazing way to see people come into what we do. I really seriously want to thank you, Mohit. I think this is a great initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That validates all the efforts we are putting, and we are very happy to have support from all of you. In fact, the 2 students with whom you have earlier done our podcast, both of them are still in the field of networking.
Great. And that's Vanessa and Kavya.
Yes. And Vanessa is now working as a network engineer at Meta in London.
Oh, wow.
And Kavya is pursuing her master's also in the field of networking.
Great outcome.
So I believe that someday we will have these two students come back to IETF because of their long-term association in the field of networking.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's just bringing students and hoping they would stay back.
That's great. Thank you, Mohit.
Thank you, George, for doing this.
If you've got a story or research to share here on Ping, why not get in contact by email to ping@apnic.net or via the APNIC social media channels. Also, remember the Measurement at apnic.net mailing list on Orbit is there to discuss and share relevant collaborative opportunities, grants and funding opportunities, jobs and graduate placings, or to seek feedback from the community on your own measurement projects. Be sure to check out the APNIC website for all your resource and community needs. Until next time,